the intro to our friend.
Sure. So we're now recording. Welcome, everybody, back to the new normal. Just as a little background on the new normal, this is a series that we've been doing now since last June, basically it kind of came out of the whole, everything that we've been living through for what's coming up very closely on a year now, which is scary, and that's exactly why we started. So we started it originally to just address some of the changes that we were seeing and some of the changes that we could expect coming out of this pandemic circumstance and global situation that we're all in. Of course, as we went on, we've made a couple pivots going into winter and further shutdowns, obviously. That also, we wanted to take a look as well at not just new trends and new things happening in the world and how businesses and people will deal with it, but also how we'll personally deal with it. So also delving a bit more into mental health as well. We've also transitioned now into more of a webisode format as well too. So you can go back and check out the catalog of all our episodes since June, featuring some awesome guests. And speaking of, well, not really guests, but co-host. So I'm Ryan Moran from CoMotion, and we have Brad Dean from Jeff Bell. And Brad.
Hey, everybody. We're excited to be back. Thank you for the synopsis of New Normal. For those of you who are new to checking out the speaker series, it's been really great for us. Sometimes I think that we get the most out of this because we get to talk to the most interesting people with really great perspectives on things, and we get to chat with each other, and it's been a really great experience for us, and we're certainly hoping that everybody who gets the chance to listen is at least getting something to take away from this as well. Mm-hmm. And certainly that's going to happen today. Without question, I am super thrilled to be able to bring in my good friend Lohifa from LoDidThat. You know her. Of course, you know her. She is the brightest, most positive, so incredibly talented star. Just like a highlight of my friend group and in my network, and I'm super excited to have her on. I'm gonna read an official bio. It feels so unlike you to have like an official bio because you've done so much, and it's but I want to be sure to make sure I don't miss anything because you've done so many things. But Lohifa is a hair artist, proud Hamiltonian, owner and head stylist at LoDidThat, of course. LoDidThat is a one-of-a-kind hair studio offering unique hairstyles and styling experiences to Hamilton, Greater Toronto area, and surrounding areas. Lohifa believes that each person has a beauty and brilliance that should be celebrated daily, and you absolutely live that, and I love it. At LoDidThat, Lohifa's mission is to foster a community that is looking good, living well, loving life, and empowering others to do the same. You walk the talk.
Oh, thank you.
Walk the talk. And to add to that, this is like, in addition to that, this is like most people's dream, resume. But to add to that, you're born and raised in Nigeria, immigrated to Vancouver in 2000, studied biopsychology and economics in university, worked abroad for the Clinton Foundation in the fight against HIV and AIDS, traveled the world, set up roots in Hamilton, went on to work at St. Joseph's Healthcare before going back to your roots, pun intended, and starting your own successful studio under the name LoDidThat. You know the name, with notable recognition, which crazy enough, I only found this out recently, really? With notable recognition on Canada's Drag Race.
What?
Yeah, I've been living under a rock. We're buds, and I didn't even friggin' know that. So I'm living under a rock. And I was sitting in the Panama airport on a border run. It was like a utilitarian trip that I had to do, and I'm on Instagram, and I see Lohifa pop up on a Instagram live, and I'm just like, hell yes. And I jump on, and you spend a good amount of time doing live streams talking about humanitarianism and anti-Black racism and ethics and loving and supporting people. And the last live stream that I saw, you were talking about, like, listen, if you love somebody and you care about somebody, then you should love them and care about them enough to tell them that they're being stupid, or they're doing something wrong, or that, it's like, hey, I'm here for you. I will ride this out with you on this learning curve, but you are messing up right now. Let's fix it together.
That's right.
And I love that. I love that. That's true love, right?
Oh, obviously. Oh, obviously. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
So sorry, I was a little bit long-winded, but like I said,
that's all right. Not at all.
I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to have you here. I think you're one of the best people I know, and
thank you, Brad.
I always have a great time talking to you. So
likewise.
Yeah, so we want to talk about things. We want to get some the low down, so to speak, and
low down. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that one.
For sure. Yeah, let's talk about, like, first off, just to kick things off, like, tell us, from your perspective, what have you seen? Like, what have you seen in your friend group, in your network, in the community at large? Like, how things changed, mentally and from a mental health standpoint from your perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think initially a lot of us didn't really know what we were dealing with, right? A lot of us were in denial, absolute pure denial, myself included, really. I remember when the pandemic first started, we started to hear about it, right? I heard that we were going into a state of emergency, and I remember calling up my clients because I was booked, months ahead. And I remember just calling them saying, sorry guys, I'm gonna have to move these appointments 2 weeks back. You wait for this thing to slide on, we can move on with our lives. And then in 2 weeks, I was calling again for another 2 weeks. And that's just the evidence of my denial, like just, pushing 2 weeks. And it was after doing that about 3 or 4 times, like, okay, this is crap. We need to wake up and face the reality here. This is indefinite. We don't really know, because there's never really been anything like it. Why do you look confused, Brad?
No, not at all. Sorry. So part of the session is we have to listen and process, and then set up like other stuff to go from. Right, okay. I apologize. No,
no, that's okay. I'm like, what's going on with Brad?
No, not at all. Yeah, I agree, 100%.
So that was it. That was just the.
Well, you were talking. I can't remember if this was on a post you made or what it was, but I remember hearing you say that you were like, "Oh, there's no way I'm gonna miss my birthday." Like you suckers are gonna have COVID birthdays, but not me.
I was 1,000,000% sure that I was not going to have a COVID birthday, because state of emergency happened. When was that, Ryan? Like March 18th or something.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That was when we officially went into state of emergency. So I was like, okay, maximum 10-month run. And then January 11th, I get to party with my people. You know what I mean? And then here we were, January 11th, and we were not only still in the middle of a pandemic, but on a full lockdown.
Right back full circle again.
Order lockdown. Like, talk about being humbled.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the year of that, though, of the humbling, among many other things. Yeah.
Right. So initially it was very it was a shock. It was a reality that I certainly didn't want to accept, because it was different from everything that I had known. Don't hug people. Are you kidding me? Like, how dare you tell me not to hug people? Okay, fine. I can't hug them. Don't shake their hands. Like, are you dumb? Why? How can I exist without shaking hands and hugging people? And then you ask me to stay 6 feet apart. What? And then you want me to wear this mask forever? Why? It was just all these things that I just never experienced before. I'd worn masks before, going into communities and stuff with the work I'd done previously, but I knew that I could take it off at some point, give someone a hug, give someone a handshake, just exist as I knew how to. So for me, it was initially it was very difficult. And I saw a lot of my friends go through that transition as well. So denial, slap with reality. Now what do we do?
Do you see, going back to some of the like humanitarian work that you've done in the past, do you see any parallels between, that type of work that you've done before and the protocols and wearing masks and that kind of thing, and now? Like, do you see? Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I worked in communities, we would have to go in, full PPE, to take blood tests, to even just talk to people, really. There are a lot of parallels, but I guess for me, I never experienced this sort of social distancing type situation. I never really had to do that because I always had to be involved. I was always at the forefront. So the social distancing it wasn't new to me as a concept, but it was new to me as practice. I don't know how to stay away from people. It's just not my way of life. So you can't expect me to be in the presence of people and consciously keep my distance, even though I should. It's the right thing to do for the betterment of society, but it just didn't appeal to me at all. And I think with any pandemic really, or epidemic, there will always be parallels, right? Biologically, to curb any spread of anything, the first thing to do is to limit contact, right? But the degree to limiting the contact in this situation just floored me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like you can make like a funny video series or something, maybe now, about like, how do we learn how to shake hands or hug again?
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like, it was so difficult for me initially. It was very difficult, extremely. I saw a friend of mine at the hair store yesterday or 2 days ago, and I was reaching to give her a hug, and then I remembered I can't hug her. And I'm like, why can't I hug her? And I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't because there's people watching. Well, who cares?
Yeah.
I just tapped her and I did that's what I tend to do now, do the elbow tap or whatever variation there is. And that just really made me, come back home and think like, wow, I watch the numbers, especially the numbers in Hamilton. I watch them often and, they're coming down and everyone's getting vaccines and, hopefully we're at the turn where things are starting to get better. But then how do we mentally transition to what we knew, It's so strange. Because if someone's reaching out to hug me, I'm not going to say, no, don't touch me. There's COVID.
Yeah.
My instinct is to want to hug you back.
Yeah. It's
hard.
I agree that I think like when we first kind of came out of that first lockdown and you were able to create bubbles, my parents live around the corner from my wife and I, and we went over and there's that sort of like awkward phase where like, we're like, oh, hey. And then my mom was just like, oh, I don't care.
Exactly. Right. We need it. We are social beings. We need it. It is absolutely necessary.
Absolutely.
We do. We certainly do.
So then from your perspective, what kind of things does that bring up about us as a community and as human beings? Because that's something that we've taken for granted for so long, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think if you were to say to somebody, we need to take a break from handshakes and hugs for a little bit, or paint this picture, like you have a pandemic and you have to do this and this and this. I think for the most part, people might be like, okay, well, you got to do what you got to do. And it's like on paper, it is what it is. But then you put that into practical application and you're like, damn it, we need, touch, and damn it, we need to not have this isolation. And, so what's, from your perspective, like, what do you think what do you think is going to come out of this as far as like how we feel about communities, how we feel about interpersonal connection with each other?
Well, I think you've said it, Brad. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. And taking this for granted has brought us to the place where we realize how important it is to us, how relevant it is to us, how nurturing it is to us. So hopefully these memories of loss of touch, loss of love, loss of expression of love will lead us to cherish the moments ahead, hopefully, where we can hug each other again and handshake again and do whatever the hell we want to do in close proximity to each other. You know what I mean? I think that's the most important thing. I look forward to the day I'm going to be hugging random people. I'll be walking down the street. Hey, people will be like, do I know you? You don't have to. Come over here.
You don't have to. Let's do this. And those people are going to be like, hell yeah.
Yes, I don't care what you say. I'm gonna hug you anyways. I think that's the beauty about life. Unfortunately, oftentimes we appreciate things more when they are no longer present. Anything, hugs, we're talking about hugs and handshakes, but even people, you know what I mean? A lot more people are celebrated in death than they are in life, and that's really just the way it is. So maybe we also need a paradigm shift, and really start to be present and focus on those things that we often take for granted and celebrate them.
That's an incredible parallel. So it's almost like like the pandemic, and maybe not necessarily death, because we know that things are going to come back eventually. We know that there are vaccines on the way and all this kind of thing.
Right,
But
right.
we could almost equate the pandemic to a interpersonal connection going into a coma.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And then we're all standing over the bed, saying all these wonderful things, and like, oh, and you know, when we get together, I'm gonna hug you. I'm gonna hug you. You know, it's like Oprah, like, you get a hug, you get a hug, you get a hug.
Right.
You know, it's like everybody
gets a hug.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's, you know, as much of a you know, a devastating thing as it's been, I think we can definitely look at that as a gift,
Yes,
you know, as well. Like to be
absolutely.
able to be able to celebrate interpersonal connection in the same way that you only would have had that from the death of something. You know?
Absolutely, yes. This is true. This is true, and I think it's a consciousness, right? Because what happens is, you know, when you say for instance, hugs and handshakes are in a coma. We're standing by the bedside saying all these sweet things, and then hugs and handshakes come back to life. There is a consciousness that is required to be maintained for us not to go back to where we were, which was taking advantage of it, right? There's work in that. There's hard work in that. And oftentimes we don't do that work because we forget. And
Short memory,
that's what it should be. We shouldn't forget. We should never forget. We must always.
I'm curious on that note. I'm curious how forgetful we're going to be. You know, I mean, to compare to like the Great Depression, for example. I mean, people carried that with them till the day they died, right? Like you know, it was almost a cliche. Like if your grandmother, your great grandmother, or something like that, saved tinfoil and reused it 10 times, you know, before she threw it out and washed it every time, and that kind of thing. It was almost, somebody would sort of flippantly say, "Oh, well, she's, you know, from the Depression era. That's just how they still roll," you know. And I wonder what kind of lasting effects are really going to stick with us. You know, are we, you know, we're going to be all going to be in our 70s, and we're just going to be hugging people on the street randomly, and people are going to be like, oh, they're pandemic era people.
Pandemic era. Well, I mean, I hope that's the case, but then the other alternative is that we won't be hugging people because we've gotten used to it, not hugging and not handshaking, right? And that's what I was speaking about, the consciousness, right? Like you would hope that everyone would come out of this really wanting to jump at people and hug people, but some people are okay with not.
Well, I mean, that kind of touches on an interesting point too, of the idea that, I mean, pre-pandemic, there was already discussions about sort of a lack of intimacy and personal intimacy in the world due to factors like social media or digital communication. So, I mean, maybe this has also kind of shone a light on that a bit more, and you do begin to realize kind of what we've been lacking to begin with. So that's kind of an interesting point too, in terms of what we will be missing or how we will behave outside of that.
Right. You're right, Ryan.
Do you feel that like maybe this has exacerbated that, or?
I think it has given people the opportunity to seek options, right? I never sent as many texts in my life as I have over the last year. I certainly haven't done as many Instagram lives as I have over the last year. I certainly didn't do as many Instagram stories as I have over the last year. Certainly not as many emails or phone calls or FaceTime. I mean, my FaceTime log is to the infinity because these are the options that I have. I went to a club online. I'd never even considered that before.
Really?
Like, I went to DJ starting from scratch. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, he would have, you know, live sets where he would just play music, and, you know, and he had an MC come on. And I remember saying, okay, well, this is what we're just going to do for now. And then summertime, we're going to be back, you know, boogieing and dancing as we do in person. No, that didn't happen. I was a name on a screen sending comments to express myself in my dance moves. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been an interesting time, but I've been able to embrace all the options that are before me outside of what I know. I can't give you a hug, but I can send you a text. I can still show you. I can find ways to show you that I care and that I'm present.
Yeah.
And I love you. I can't shake your hand, but I can FaceTime you. You know, I can give you a shout out on my page. You know, I can send you an email. Whatever avenues that exist, I can use to continue to have that contact until, you know, I can go back to what I was used to. You know, I can add on those options that were eliminated. But until then, I'm not just going to isolate myself, which a lot of people have been doing because that's the easiest thing to do. It's just everything else requires work because you're not used to it. You're just going off the grain, you know. But it's not the best thing. It's not the best thing at all.
No. And you know, I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like you of all people, you know, as like unwaveringly positive as you are, I feel like you are also one of those people that you can just talk real, like just like talk about the real shit and just like hash it out and figure it out. I want to talk about that. I think it's important for, you know, people that are listening. It's important for me. You know, you have that fight in you where you're like, you know what, I'm not getting these things. All these doors are shutting down. I'm just going to keep busting through walls until I find a new door and I'm going to figure it out. You know, there are going to be a lot of people out there. I'm sure there's a lot of people that you've come in contact with in your network or friend group or you know, whatever, who don't have that same fight, who don't have that same, you know, persistence to do that and are sort of shutting themselves in. Like, can you talk about, you know, obviously without giving names, but can you talk about any experience that you've seen from other people that, you know, you've gotten really worried about somebody, and what were the signs that came up that really triggered you to say, you know, I gotta make sure they're okay, and I gotta be there to support them?
Of course, I had friends at the beginning of the pandemic that just completely just shut out from everyone, me and everyone. And I was really concerned because at first I understood that everyone was trying to figure this out and figure out what to do. And there were a lot of disappointments and a lot of loss that came from this initially. You know, businesses shutting down, you know, kids not going back to school. So the hours of glee that you had, you know, were gone for parents, you know, who love to work during those hours. You know what I mean? People having to stay home and stay indoors. And I mean, I never preached that stay home message because for me, it was a message of privilege. Home is not a safe space for everyone. Not everyone can afford to stay home. You know what I mean? So I always tell people to stay safe. That whatever that means to you, we all have our parts to play. Some people never stayed home throughout this pandemic. Frontline workers, healthcare workers, a lot of my ex-colleagues, they never had the opportunity. They've been working straight through. I stayed home because I wanted to, not because I had to, you know what I mean? But a lot of people, because they didn't really, none of us really understood what was going on, the easiest thing to do was just to clam up and be like, okay, I need to figure this out. What's going on externally and then what's going on internally. And how I saw that play out was people not being as present anymore. No texts, no phone calls, no opportunities to go to restaurants and hang out because restaurants were closed, which were things that we love to do. So the most dominant thing that I saw was people just not responding to phone calls. Some of my close friends not responding to text messages, not being active on social media as they were before. Just a complete, just internal lockdown, so to speak. Right. And I would reach out initially, but then it was between, well, do I give them space to figure it out, or do I push harder to make sure that they're not in a vulnerable state, so to speak, right? And I did give some friends some time, you know, because I felt that I was figuring out too. But I think it was in April, I was like, all right, this is going to last for a while. So we cannot drag our feet in terms of figuring this out. We just need to band together and be there for each other. So if I sent you a text and I didn't hear from you, I was calling you. If I got your voicemail, I was emailing you. If I didn't get in touch with you, then I was going to contact the next person around you, which is what I did. And then I did some drive-bys too. So I drive by and play really loud music outside their home. I did that to two of my friends. And of course we kept our distance, but I'm like, yo, I see you. I just want to make sure you're okay. You're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, catch this beat. See you later. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and for me, that's just how I am. That's just who I am. But not everyone is that way. Not everyone is able to consciously step outside themselves and, you know, be positive for themselves, but then also for the people around them. And the way I see it is we all have to take things one step at a time. Sometimes we want to just do it all at once. You're thinking about Thursday when there's Tuesday, Wednesday before Thursday. You know what I mean? Like we just want to run. All we need to do is walk, get out of bed, make your bed, go have breakfast, do one positive thing that makes you happy, eat some carbs, you know.
I appreciate that progress during a pandemic looks entirely different than progress in a normal time, right?
They're not during a pandemic, But I think it was just important for me, and I think we all know those people in our lives who are more vulnerable than others, right? We know those people. I think everyone was concerned about extroverts more during the pandemic than introverts, because we felt like, well, extroverts need to get out there and do everything and see everything. No more clubs, no more concerts, no more restaurants, you know, no more plays, none of that stuff, you know. But everyone needed to be concerned about everyone, because this was new to all of us.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, you've kind of touched on what we've been missing and what you've been doing to maintain sort of that personal contact with people in the interim. You strike me like an extrovert.
I think I am.
So what have you been doing?
When you say strike me, you mean with a sledgehammer?
Yeah, there's a billboard behind you. Yeah.
Big lights on it. Love it.
So what things have you found that kind of preserve you throughout this year that you've been doing in lieu of, say, hugging and or personal contact or intimate contact, of even outside of that too? So what has preserved you, that concept?
Well, the most first thing for me is my faith. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. Love is my religion. I think my faith really grounded me. Knowing that regardless of what was before me, everything was going to be okay, and believing that and holding on to that. And then the other thing I think was just knowing that I had responsibilities. I have my husband and my children and my friends who know that I am this person as I am and have expectations of me. Like, hey, Lohifa, you can't be down. I'm down. You better be up. You know what I mean? And I think, I needed to share. Sharing myself, I needed to share myself, and sharing myself helped me get through. I shared times when I was really upset and frustrated that I couldn't work and that I couldn't see my clients, you know, that I couldn't go out and visit people. Like, how dare you take that away from me? You know, like, who the hell are you to tell me that I can't go next door to see my neighbor? Like, wow, what is this? But of course, you understand the social responsibility of staying safe, which is you can't do it, not because, you know, you shouldn't, but because it's the right thing to do to keep everyone safe. The greater goal. So what really helped for me was, one, my faith, and two, really just knowing that I needed to share. I'm a talker. I'm outgoing. I love hanging out with people and enjoying life. And I found a way to do that in my Instagram stories. So I did that every day. I may not have physically gone out, but I physically got out of myself in my stories, just sharing my experience with the pandemic, sharing my thoughts, sharing some advice from my background in public health, you know, sharing some challenges that I had with my kids being at home and not being able to work. And even when I did get back to work, sharing some of the challenges I was having with transitioning to working with a mask and having to Lysol everywhere all the time, like everywhere. I clean my chair and stuff, but like, you know, clean the door handle, you know, clean the bathroom, you know, it's just everything, you know. So that really did help me, was just connecting with people that way. It was all online. It was all virtual. I hated it. I'm zoomed out. I'm still zoomed out, but I'm doing it because that's all I have. That's what I have. I need to make the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to dig in a little bit more because we spend a fair amount of time since we switched gears to talking about mental health and mental health awareness. We talk a lot about, you know, the people who you know, do kind of recede back into into the background, and that you stop hearing from, and all this other kind of stuff. But I think this is, you know, we have a really great opportunity talking to you today because you are that person who is out in the forefront and talking about it, and you feel that innate sense of responsibility to be that person. And you know, talking real about that, that's a weight. You know, that's a weight that you carry, and you carry well, but it's a weight. But it's still a weight. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you could talk a little bit, because I'm sure there are a lot of other people out there like you. There's nobody like you, but I mean, that are kind of in the same ballpark anyway. But there are going to be people out there that are similar to you who are feeling that weight, who are carrying the weight. I'm curious how much of that weight is helpful to you to, like, say, you know, this is what's going to pull me out of my funk today because I need to be there, and then you feel better. And how much of it is a hindrance, and how much of it is just like dead weight that you have to struggle with?
Right. Okay. First of all, I love me. I love me so much that my husband gets jealous.
Yeah.
I love me. I love me, and I never forget that I love me. I didn't always love myself. I mean, I guess I did love myself, but I loved a false self. So my love for myself was not tied into any reason. I was just raised to love myself, and my faith teaches me to love myself. But I hadn't really explored the reasons why I love myself until later in my life, in my like early 20s. But I love myself, and I always, from loving myself, I always know that I have to take care of myself. There's this analogy of, you know, when you're in the airplane, for those of us who have been recently, Brad, and for those who haven't, Ryan.
We're all friends. We're all friends.
We're all friends. We're all friends. You know, when they give the announcements when you get on the flight, they say, you know, in case of emergency and, you know, the plane's going down and the air oxygen mask drop, put your mask on first before you proceed to help someone else. I love to share myself with people. I love to share my life experiences with people. I love to learn about people's life experiences, but I can't give what I don't have. If I'm not taking care of myself, I'm literally killing myself. There's nothing worth giving my self-care up for now, right? I need to invest in myself. I need to be okay. I need to make sure I'm doing things to make me okay so that I can continue to do what I want to do, which is to share myself and my life, my experiences with people. So that's what keeps me going. I never push myself to the point where I know I'm dying on the inside, but I got to show up for others. No.
Yeah.
If I'm getting tired, if I'm getting hungry, if I'm getting drained, I am out. Like, there's been times I've just been off of social media. I was actually off for like 2 days recently, and I got so many DMs. Lohifa, where are you? You have no stories up. And of course, these are like all new followers, right? Because all my old followers know that I just disappear whenever the hell I feel like it, because there's life.
And you need it.
And I like to live it.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to live it without posting it. So I think it's just that consciousness of knowing that you have to take care of yourself. You have to. There's no ands or buts.
So for the kids at the back, can you clarify what self-care looks like to you? Because I think a lot of people have a misconception about what, like, self-care to a lot of people is, I'm gonna just order, pizza for the next 5 days because I don't feel like cooking. And I'm just taking a me week of like pizza or whatever. And then you feel like absolute garbage, and your physicality and like your mood and everything is out the window. And that's not self-care.
That's right. That's right.
But what does self-care look like to you?
Yeah, for me, it's being kind to yourself, being present with yourself, being a friend to yourself. Whatever it is you want to go out there and give to others, give to yourself first. If your first instinct is to give someone pizza, well, by all means, give it to yourself first. Nobody's gonna go give someone 10 boxes of pizza for a week. So why do it to yourself? You know what I mean? I think the most important thing is to find out what makes you happy. Fill your cup, whatever that is. In many ways, I take care of myself. As a hairstylist, I see a chiropractor. chiropractor, I go for massage therapy, but mentally, I love music. Music makes me so happy, listening to music. So I do that all the time. And I love singing and dancing and, you know, listening to lyrics and, you know, deconstructing meanings of lyrics and things like that. I do that all the time. And I share that in my stories all the time. I love food. I can eat till the cows come home. I can eat a whole cow. No shame to my game. You know, so I do that. You know, I love spending time with my family. You know, I love reading. I love watching movies. I can binge watch on Netflix. I do that. You know, whatever it is that fills you up, that makes you, when you're done, whatever it is that you're doing, just makes you feel like, yeah, I'm ready to just share myself with the world. I'm ready to just live my best life. That is what I would consider self-care. Yeah. I think it really just comes down to being kind to yourself and being present with yourself. That's what it is for me.
I think it's really it's a really good opportunity with the way that everything's changed right now as well, to include as like a precursor to self-care is reassessing whether or not things in your life serve you or whether you are serving those things. You know, like a good example of that, throughout the pandemic in particular, is people are, you know, there was a lot of conversation. I was a part of that conversation for a long time about, you know, the pandemic's been going on for about, 6 bottles of scotch now, or whatever, and it's just like, drink the pain away, or drink until you wake up and it's all over, that kind of thing. Yeah. What happens in that instance is like 4 months down the road, things are the same way they are, and you're not feeling good about life.
Yeah.
So like taking time to reassess, like, and I've only just started this in the last like even 3 months now, to start like anything that I introduce into my life or anything that's existing in my life, legitimately taking an outside perspective and saying, is this something that is serving me and my family and my friends, or no? Is this a short-term, whatever? What kind of things, have you noticed that maybe you've changed over the course of the pandemic, where you said, and I shouldn't even say over the pandemic, because I feel like you've been a champion of self-care for a long time, but when we're all like hot on the heels of your progress, like what are some of the things when you first really recognized that you needed self-care? What were some of the things that you turned off of and said, I thought that was self-care, but it's not?
Yeah. So I have to thank you for saying what you've just said in terms of assessing things in your life that you're giving into and that you're taking out of. What I've done in the last year is assess relationships in my life.
Yes.
And that's people, especially because these are trying times, unprecedented times, right? Initially, certain expectations I had of people did not come to fruition. Certain people, you expected them to deal with this pandemic a certain way because of the knowledge you had of them.
Yeah,
didn't. Certain people you expected to deal with one way because of the knowledge you had or didn't have of them. They didn't, right? But I think that we should, what we're doing with things and with culture and practice, we should also do with people. So I looked at the people in my life over the last year. Why is it that I'm always just giving to this person and I'm not receiving anything in return? There are stages of a relationship where you can do that and it's okay. But if you're doing that in perpetuity, it is not okay.
Exactly.
It is not okay. Somebody needs to realize it and do something about it. I'm all about giving the opportunity to do something about it, but if nothing is changing, then it's time to move on, right? There's so many people in the world to enjoy and that want to enjoy you. It's about that reciprocity. So I want, as much as I want to feed people, I also want to be fed. As much as I want to share my lessons of life, I also want to learn about other people's lessons in life. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I learned a lot over this pandemic, and I took time to really assess is the relationships that I've had with people in my life.
Right.
That's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Being able to see your network and your relationships tested, in a difficult time. Who's here? Who's here for the tough stuff, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
I wonder, maybe, we've been very personal at the moment, but kind of related to that, you operate also a very public sort of business.
Yes.
How has that dealt with it, and what kind of pivots have you done to preserve that in the
Oh,
meantime?
wow. So I haven't really done anything.
Small question, yeah.
My only pivot has been, just heightening my presence online and sharing more of my thoughts. Initially, before the pandemic, I would share mostly my hairstyles and my thoughts about my hairstyles. And then I would share little snippets about, my life and maybe my challenges, and offer some life advice, talk about things that have helped me. But throughout the pandemic, it was a total and complete shift. So I was just always talking about life and life lessons and music, and anything that I learned, I was willing to share. I sometimes wondered if I was even still a hairstylist. I wasn't talking about anything hair related, but this is what I needed at the time. And this is what everyone is. It was the most relevant information that I could share, right? There will always be time to share pictures and stories of hair, but right now everyone is trying to survive and hopefully thrive. So let us discuss those tools that will help us, push through these times. And that was what was most important for me. And it's been a brilliant pivot. I don't have a problem talking. I can talk till thy kingdom come. So I was very happy to share whatever, came across. And, if people found it useful, I was even happier. And that's been great for me that way. And I've had the opportunity to share on different platforms, and I'm always very happy to do that. That's been a good pivot for me, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great piece of advice too for anybody out there, and we've talked about this a few times as well, as far as like giving in general, and how, like, if you're struggling a little bit, if you are having a bit of a hard time, if you're overwhelmed with the challenges that you're facing in that moment, one of the best things that you can do is find a way to give to somebody else. It just pulls you out of all of that, and you have great perspective. And it's the same thing in this case. And the giving is, you're giving stories and communication and emoting of yourself, right? So, I feel like you don't even necessarily, you might not have the time or resources to donate to a charity or to do, whatever in that moment. But if you could just share your story with somebody, that weight starts to come off your shoulders. And then all of a sudden you have this audience of people who are willing to be there and reciprocate and join in that conversation.
Exactly. No, I think that's so important. And I did learn that a lot. I was talking to you about this, I think on the last live that you were on. I was saying, someone asked me how I came up with the idea for the fundraiser and the live giving. Yeah. Recently and earlier in the year. It was really that. My birthday was coming up, and I was so ashamed that I'd made fun of everybody else who had a COVID birthday. I was hopeful that I would not have a COVID birthday.
Not me.
It was a COVID lockdown birthday, and I started to get sad about that because obviously my expectations were not going to be met, and I needed to do something to distract my sadness. I have life, I'm healthy, I've got my family around me, I have love in my life. There's absolutely no reason to be down about it. And I thought, again, just give of yourself, outside of yourself. And it completely and totally, it was the best birthday I've ever had, hands.
Nice.
I didn't rent a room and like get a DJ. Oh, did I cut off? It looked like my.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. We got
a little bit, having a party and getting a DJ and getting all my friends together. That didn't happen physically in reality, but it was just as awesome online. You know what I mean? It was great. So finding obviously, again, that consciousness of stepping outside of yourself and giving of yourself too. Removing yourself from your pain or your sad, whatever it is that you're experiencing, and just supporting someone else. It goes a long way to lift you up, but also to lift the other person up too. It goes a long way.
Perspective, it's huge. So, on that sort of topic, one of the things since moving to Costa Rica that has come up. So I'm in Costa Rica, I'm in the sun, I'm in the warmth, all this other kind of stuff, but I'm living in it's a third world country, right? And so the funny thing is I grew up in Canada, and I had this view of third world country as being less than, in a lot of different ways. And it's funny because I've I've since revisited that a tremendous amount.
Yes.
And I have a really good friend of mine who lives in Rwanda, and I had this conversation with her a little while ago, talking about how when people say, "Oh, first world problems" in an ironic way,
Right.
I'm now seeing that in a totally different light. Because, you know, when somebody says that, they maybe they went to Starbucks and the person got their order wrong, and they take a picture of it and they go like, "They got my order wrong again, first world problems."
Right.
You know, they're being ironic about it. But when you've lived in a third world country, you now start to understand that that is a first world problem. The
Yes.
fact that you're upset
Yes.
because your coffee is wrong
Yes.
is a problem.
It's a
And
problem
when
of privilege.
it's a problem of privilege, but it is a legitimate problem because your perspective is way off.
Yes.
And things I'm living down here, nobody cares about class. Nobody cares about what you have. All people care about are you going to be there when I'm in trouble?
Right.
You know, and that's where your relationships are built, and vice versa, right? And when you live in that type of a community and network, which I think is a lot of what's happening now in North America, going to be able to test your relationships and test your friendships during a pandemic and during, you know, this kind of conflict. You know, are you going to be there to hold my hand, or to text me, or to talk to me, or to whatever I need in that moment, and I got to be there for you. You know, I think that's that is another benefit that hopefully we're starting to gain a lot more perspective and shed some of that first world problem perspective.
I think so. I think if anything, the pandemic has made North America, because I've always known North America to be a very individualistic society, right? The culture doesn't exist in the communal setting as it does in most third world countries, right? But I think the pandemic has caused a shift towards more community type mentality and communal type, how do you say this? Giving people an opportunity to be more considerate of each other and to be more conscious of each other than they normally would have. And it's nice to see. It's very nice to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, so we're getting pretty close to our time. We want to make sure to give you space. Like normally we have like an agenda and we come in with like questions and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, not today. Not today. Today is going to be free flowing. Today is going to be beautiful organic conversation. And I've loved it. So I just want to make sure we're getting close to the top of the hour. I want to give you the chance to talk about anything that you think is pertinent, that you came across as interesting to you. Tiffany's, literally anything you want. Like, the stage is yours. I just I want to hear what you got to say.
Right. Yeah. Internet, stay with me because it's been twitching lately. This is the important part. I think one of the things that I've noticed in this pandemic is a lot of sadness and sorrow. It really pains me to see people sad and sorrowful and in dismay. I don't like it at all. And whatever I can do to help people get out of that state, I do. And one of the things I can do is to offer some advice that has worked for me. Being sad, getting sad is normal, right? It's a part of life. It's an emotion that we all have to experience at some point. But what we must not do is stay there. Allow yourself to feel it, but do not stay there. That's where the danger is, right? We must do whatever it takes to get out of it as soon as possible, right? Go for a walk, go eat that pizza, go call a friend, count your blessings, watch a TV show, whatever you need to do so that you are not embedded in that feeling to the point where you start to enjoy it. Because that's when learned helplessness sets in, right? Some people don't even know that they're enjoying being sad or being depressed or being sorrowful, but when you stay there too long, that is exactly what happens. And the pandemic has brought so much strife. A lot of my friends lost businesses and lost their life plan, you know, pension, you name it. A lot of unthinkable things have happened because of this. But when there is life, there is hope. I truly believe that. So let us do our best to stay positive, stay happy, stay joyful, step outside of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, give to others, share with others. And that's what I have to say.
Absolutely nailed it. And this is something that has been a new learning for me, is understanding that your body and your mind crave whatever you give it.
That's right.
If you eat, you know, a couple of bags of Doritos every day, day 5, your body's like, where the hell are these Doritos?
Doritos, that's right.
Right? But if you're eating, like, I don't know, if you're eating a salad every day, your body, day 5, your body's like, where the hell is my salad?
That's right.
You know, and it's the same thing mentally. If you are wallowing in despair, and you know, come day 5, come day 10, come month 4, you know, your mind and your spirit are saying, this is home.
That's it.
You know, and that is a dangerous mindset to be in. So, you know, even if you got to fake it till you make it.
That's right.
Pull yourself out
right.
and get your mind, get your body, get whatever it is that you need into that routine. And then eventually it's like a motor that started and it's taking you with it.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Ryan, any other thoughts, my friend?
No, I think that's a great point to end on too, of just that kind of getting out of certain rhythms. And that's, I mean, certainly with ideally brighter days ahead, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you know, I think we're going to need to focus on that idea of getting out of rhythms, of sort of building those different habits, new ones, layering them. And that's something I think that'll be great to focus on. And I think you've really touched on a lot of things too, in terms of that idea of preserving yourself and how to do that in the meantime.
Yes, I agree with you, Ryan. Brighter days ahead and within.
Yes.
Yes.
Brighter days within. Let's start there.
And we like a version of the future can be that we are better coming out of this.
Absolutely.
Like we gotta remind ourselves that our future is whatever we make of it. If we want to feel better coming out of this pandemic 3 months from now or whatever it is, then we got to put the time in, we got to put the work in. But it is very possible.
Let's get to work.
Get to work. Put in the work. I love it. Lo, you know I love you. You know I appreciate the heck out of you.
Brad.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
And Ryan, I love you too, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's been great to meet you.
Ryan.
An absolute pleasure.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We really appreciate you, and keep doing your thing. I'm gonna keep following along and enjoying, and hopefully I'm spreading some sunshine your way too, because I get a ton from you.
The next flight I get on, I'm coming your way,
buddy.
I'm making sure you get on that flight and coming back this way.
I don't know about that. but I got a space for you anytime.
I know it. I'll stay anywhere. I'll stay on the floater in the pool. I'll stay wherever I need to.
We got a bed for you. Don't worry about that.
Thank
you come down whenever it's safe to do so. We'll be stoked to see you.
I shall.
All right, Lo. Thank you so much. Have a killer
day.
day.
Thank you very much,
everyone. Thank you.
Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.